Hello, all you wise men. Yes, the wise men, the men here. So, this video is specifically for the men. Women, please watch some other video. Do not stay on this video. This video is not for you. This video is only for the men in the room, right? Now, before I begin, my dear men, I want to ask you a question and I want you to answer it very honestly, right? So, have you ever felt that despite working hard, despite doing your best, despite fulfilling all of your responsibilities, despite showing up for your family, a part of you still feels disconnected from the man you truly want to become? Maybe you've achieved things, maybe people respect you, maybe you are doing responsibly well, and yet something feels missing. And it is not something which is dramatically missing. Okay? It is obviously missing, but it is just enough to make you wonder, is this really it? Am I living up to my potential? Where did that version of me go? And if you've ever felt this way, you are not alone. That is exactly why I'm recording this video, because today we live in a world where men have access to more information than ever before, right? There are thousands of books, millions of videos, podcasts, courses, mentors, influencers. There is advice everywhere. Yet, despite all of this information, many men are struggling. Not externally, but internally. Many men feel lost, directionless, disconnected, isolated, unfulfilled. And what fascinates me is this: most of these men are not failures, they're actually very good men. They're responsible men, hardworking men, family oriented men, men who genuinely care, men who are trying their best. So, why does this happen? Has it happened with you? Do drop in the comment section if this has ever happened with you. Are you one of these people? Now, let's discuss why this happens. Why does a man who's doing everything right still feels that something is missing? For a long time, I've asked myself this question, and the answer I kept coming back to was this: most men do not have a capability problem, they have a connection problem. They've become disconnected from themselves. Now, before I go any further, let me tell you something. I'm a woman. I have never lived life as a man. And I don't pretend to know exactly what it feels like, because I can't. But I've spent my entire life observing men I deeply respect. Three men in particular: my father, my brother, and my husband. And what I've observed changed the way I think about masculinity. Now, let's start with my father. Right? Growing up, I saw a man who carried enormous responsibility. Like many fathers of his generation, he simply did what needed to be done. He worked, he provided, he solved problems, he protected the family, he carried burdens that most people never even knew existed. And what struck me was nobody ever asked him how he was doing. People appreciated what he did, but very few people checked on the man behind the responsibility. And I think that's true for many men. People depend on them, but who do they depend on? Who do the men depend on? Now, there is my brother, right? A strong, capable, ambitious, intelligent, driven man. Yet, even with all his strengths, I noticed something. Like many men, he often carried challenges internally. He didn't always express them, he didn't always talk about it, not because he couldn't, but because many men are conditioned to believe they should handle things alone. And over time, carrying everything alone becomes exhausting, right? And then there's my husband, the man who transformed my understanding of healthy masculinity. For many years, I believed strength meant independence. I believed needing somebody was needing nobody was power, believing that being self-sufficient was the answer. But my husband taught me something very different. True strength isn't emotional suppression. true strength isn't carrying everything alone. True strength is responsibility with self awareness, leadership with compassion, courage with vulnerability, and that changed everything for me. As I reflected on these experiences, I started noticing this pattern. So many men are carrying an invisible weight. It can be financial pressure, career pressure, family pressure, social pressure, expectations after expectations after expectations. And the strange thing is, many men don't even realize how heavy the load has become, because carrying the load has become normal. I want you to think about that for a moment. How much pressure are you carrying as a man right now? Not just financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. How many responsibilities are sitting on your shoulders? How many people depend on you? How many decisions are you making every single day? And how often do you actually stop and ask yourself, how am I doing? Most men never ask that question, and if they do, they rarely answer it honestly. Now, this bothered me very deeply because I realized something, that many men are spending years becoming successful but very little time in understanding themselves. They know what they do, right? But they don't always know who they are. They know their responsibilities, but they have lost touch with their identity. And when identity becomes unclear, everything else begins to suffer. Confidence drops, purpose becomes blurry, direction disappears, growth slows down, not because the man lacks potential, but because he has lost connection to himself. And that realization became the foundation of something much bigger. It became the foundation of the vice. Now, when most people hear the word vice, they immediately think of something negative, maybe a bad habit, a weakness, a flaw. But while researching the history of the word, I discovered something fascinating. The word vice has also historically represented leadership and responsibility. Vice President, Vice Chancellor, Vice Captain, Vice Chairman are all positions of trust and positions of service and positions of leadership. Now that changed everything for me, because suddenly the word took on a completely different meaning. And that's when I decided that inside this movement, WISE would stand for values, identity, confidence, and expansion. Values. What do you exactly stand for? Not what society expects, not what other people want. What do you believe in? What principles guide your life? Because every strong life is built on strong values, correct? Next is identity. Who are you beneath your roles? Beyond the husband, beyond the father, beyond the employee, beyond the provider, who are you becoming? Because until a man answers that question, he will always feel disconnected, right? Confidence, not arrogance, not ego, not pretending, but real confidence. Now, that confidence comes from self trust, confidence that comes from self alignment, confidence that comes from knowing who you truly are. And the last is expansion, growth, possibility, purpose, impact, becoming more of who you truly are. Not becoming someone else, becoming more fully yourself. Now, this is the conversation I believe men need right now. Not another conversation about hustling harder, not another conversation about becoming an alpha, and definitely not another conversation about domination. Rather, a conversation about consciousness, awareness, identity, leadership, and purpose. Because the world doesn't need more perfect men, the world needs more conscious men who know who they are, men who know what they stand for, men who lead with courage and integrity, men who can carry responsibilities without losing themselves, men who can be strong without becoming emotionally disconnected, men who can lead without controlling, men who can serve without sacrificing their identity. That is why the Wise exists, and that is why this movement matters. Because I believe something very deeply. Safe men will create safe women. Conscious men creates conscious families, and conscious families create conscious communities. Conscious communities create conscious nations, and conscious nations create a better future. So, before we end today's conversation, I want to leave you with one question, and I don't want you to answer it quickly. I want you to really sit with it, reflect on it, journal about it if you need to, and also put it down in the comment section what your answer is. And the question is, who is the man you truly want to become? Who is the man you truly want to become? Not what others expect, not what societies want, not what your fears tell you, but deep down, who is the man you truly want to become? Because that answer may change everything. In the next video, we are going to talk about something even deeper: the silent crisis men are facing today, the pressure, the loneliness, the emotional load, and why so many capable men feel stuck despite having so much potential. Until then, take care of yourself and remember, you don't have a capability problem. You may simply have an identity conversation waiting to happen. Welcome to the Wise: Value, Identity, Confidence, and Expansion. This is Chani Singh Ravi, an identity curator and an author, signing off today.